Well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and this is a bit of a special video because we're off on a little road trip, first one of the year, and there's been this dilemma: which car do we take? These, I think, are the two I was thinking of doing. The Espada, freshly rebuilt engine, really keen to see how that performs, or do I take the Jaguar XJ Coupe 5.3 manual, which is just returned from a full, I can't call it a full restoration, but an engine, drivetrain and a beautiful change in colour. Bit of a dilemma, but actually the one I'm going to take on this trip, I think, is the Jaguar, because the weather is good outside, it's turned mild, and I need to put miles on this because this car needs running in. But it's just great getting these two cars together. With the manual gearbox in the XJ Coupe and 5-speed manual obviously in the Espada, two 4-seater cars, V12s, front engines, same sort of vintage. I mean, the Espada was actually a 1970 car. This is 1978, the Jag. But this was 74, I think the coupes first came out. So they're pretty close in age. And the Series 3 version of the Espada was on sale when this Jaguar is on sale. Espada is actually twice the price. I think that was around £22,000 new. This is 12,000 back in the day. We're going to set off in a moment, take it down to the house, pack the bags, and I'm really interested to see how the Jaguar performs. I know the Espada inside out, but how does the Jaguar perform on a few days away on a proper sort of GT roll? Let's go and find out. Well, we're underway. It's a huge boot. You'll never fill the boot on this XJ. It's from that previous generation, a bit like the Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow that has this enormous boot you could almost live in. It's the same on an XJ as well. And just some of the things when you first get in the XJ, things you notice: well, one, vast amount of glass everywhere, and sort of softer seats. Not the Espadas are sort of haven't got a lot of foam in them and they're quite hard. Jaguar, the opposite, all feels very nice to sit in this, and you sit lower. There's a lot of space above my head before we hit the roof. And if you look at the dials, one of the things you sort of discover, oh, I meant to do that when I was doing the rebuild. You'll see the speedo. We're doing nearly 70 miles an hour. I have the speedo there, the actual speed, and we're doing 3 miles an hour. And what happened was, when I had the rear diff changed to a lower diff to make it more accelerative, I forgot to change the speedo drive. But I've still forgotten to set the speedo drive. So you can do 100 miles an hour, but you're not actually doing 100 miles an hour at all. You're doing probably about 75. So I must get that done. But one thing I'm just a bit confused about is this switch here, switching between these two tanks this car has. And I hate this system. If you look at the fuel gauge, I am full. And if I have to switch where it is now, that's meant to be the right-hand tank. And I sort of ran it out a bit. Sorry, this is a bit complicated, but the right-hand tank was half full. I switched it over to the full left-hand tank. That's good, use a bit of that. Switched back to the right-hand tank, and according to the gauge, it's full again. So I don't know quite what fuel gauge to believe or not. And the really annoying thing on an XJ like this age, is you don't get a reserve light. So I don't really know how much fuel's in the tank until I go fill it up. So that bit does need a bit of investigation. But on a more positive note, if you look outside, this is January and it's about 11-12 degrees outside and sunny. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing Wales tomorrow, maybe in the sunshine. We're staying in a wonderful place, Palé Hall it's called, so I'll go into a bit more detail later. But yeah, Destination Wales was about 3 hours to get there, but I really quite like to know how much fuel I had on board and what on earth is going on with the fuel gauge. So it's got this lovely ledge on this XJ. It's just perfect for your iPhone if you're using your iPhone for navigation. Look at that, how good's that? We're getting on, unfortunately we're going to arrive in the dark, I think. 17:36 arrival is when we're due there. Only a few more miles. We're just in Shropshire, about to go into Wales. The weather's slightly changing. There's sort of moors up to the right, so it's definitely has that feel of North Wales approaching at the moment. I love how this car is just so not your regular XJ. Heel and tone is perfect on it, super smooth engine as you'd expect, and the other surprise is just how light the gear change is. It's not a heavy change at all. It's much nicer than the Espada gear change. But there we go. The 3000 rev limit is proving a little tricky though. What I think I'm going to do with the light failing and stuff, we're just going to get to the hotel and then you'll see us in the morning, because I'm not going to do any of the favourite roads in North Wales tonight. I'm just going to get to the hotel, a glass of beer or something. Anyway, look out the front. Wales will be approaching any minute now, I would imagine. Well, morning, this is where we stayed last night. This is Palé Hall, and this sits in the hills just above Barla. And it's a hotel that intrigued me because the whole hotel is powered by a hydroelectric system. This hall was built in 1879, I think it was completed. Queen Victoria stayed here as well. Duke of Westminster also bought it in 1950, so it's quite a back history. But there's this one bit that I couldn't get over when I was looking at this hotel, and that it is powered by its own hydroelectric system. Now, the current owners bought the place in 2015 and have put a new system in, but the original system was actually put in 1920. So over 100 years ago, and that's how this house has always been powered. And apparently it was unoccupied for about 20 years, but they left all the heating on because they got this free power. If you come and stay here today, the only bits you notice is there's 4 charging points, electric car charging points up in the top car park, and it is all 100% free of CO2 electricity because it's all come from the hydro system, which is basically diverted a stream into big pipes. They come down the hillside of these pipes to a collecting tank, and then they zoom down to the River Dee, which is just down there, and that's how it's powered. Anyway, you don't want to know that, you want to know about the Jaguar, which I have to say on this trip, on the way up, apart from that funny thing with the tanks, which I'm not going to worry too much about because I now know the fuel gauge works, didn't miss a beat on the way up here. I can't get over it, it's still clean as well. We were in January, it's sort of a damp day, it's about 10 degrees today. But yeah, we're in the old Evo stomping ground of North Wales, and I'll just show you, I've got a map here, sort of where we're going to go. If you can see, that blob is us there, there's Barla down there. This is just Evo land really. If I talk about the Evo triangle, it's around there, and then we go down Port Merion area down here, the Festiniog, etc. The only trouble with this area is it does rain quite often. And I'm going to try and dodge the rain if I can, and just an eye on the radar so we don't catch any showers and things. But yeah, no, today I want to do a few more miles. We did about 180 miles yesterday. We've got about 1,000 miles to do, which we're not all going to do on this trip. But yeah, we're just going to head out, see where it takes us, see what the weather does, and go and explore some of the best roads in North Wales. Close to Festiniog here. It's right in the middle of nowhere, just on the tops, but a huge amount of activity, car magazines along this area. I spot it in other magazines as well as for Evo shoots, etc. I think I was up here with the Project 8 because they actually closed the road. The police around this area are very good, and they will close a section of road if you want to do filming and that sort of thing. And this road was actually used for the Jaguar Project 8 brochure shop, but there's a little road up here, road to nowhere. I can remember bringing the Aston Martin 177 up here as well, and on this corner this is a little T-junction that I know very well, better than I really want to, because Evo borrowed an F50 from Joe Macari, and I was driving down there and it wouldn't get round that corner and dumped its nose into the tarmac, and I think it was a £10,000 or £12,000 bill to get it mended, so I know that corner well. The other nice thing about coming here in February, it seems as though the sheep are being moved off the moors. They must be all in down the bottom because it's coming up to lambing time. Another little car park on the left here. Used to hang out there. One time I was there and this helicopter suddenly arrived. It was Jeremy Clarkson was doing that eulogy to the Aston Martin Vantage V12. Jeremy wasn't here, but they filmed it up and down this bit of road, and we were photographers and cameras, and feel very much second-class citizens as Top Gear TV had a helicopter and we're going up and down this bit of road. Sort of what I want to do running in. It's quite good it's foggy because it stops you pushing the car too hard. I'm only meant to have this 3,000 RPM rev limit for the first 1,000 miles or so, and I think we've now done, we're about 280 miles, so another 700 miles of this to go. I think it's so misty up the top, so I'm going to drop down. I'm going to just coming down into Festinio. It actually looks brighter down there. Go see what we can find at lower altitude, but it's pretty spectacular up here, just where the sun's coming in. One of my favourite spots in North Wales, down on that was one of the very rare places where you can actually drive onto the beach. And I just think it's a sort of car, it just looks elegant here down on the beach. 2 days. What have I discovered then with this Jaguar over the 2 days? Well, one, the radio aerial won't go up, so fortunately it has a CD player, so we thought it was appropriate to be listening to the hits of the 70s, so we've been listening to CDs again, and then remembering as we go over bumps and things why we went off having CDs in the car and chose streaming, etc. But my goodness, I'm loving the look of it. I'm loving the colour and the cleanness of the bodywork and the coupe look. I've just put the windows down for extra appeal. It is a very elegant car, I think, and it's running extremely well, as I would expect really. It's just so frustrating when we're running in, because I know how exciting it is when you build the revs up. Snags, I've noticed that the manifolds are quite low down. I had those tubular manifolds, well, where they actually join on the exhaust is low. I've had a couple of touches with the exhaust. So this is fully adjustable suspension on this. I might just lift it up a little bit. What else? It feels super sharp on the steering. They found on the steering column it was slight movement in it. We've got rid of that, and it has made a big difference. But I think what I sort of learnt over this journey of doing this car is I've always wanted a Jaguar in the collection, a classic Jaguar, and the obvious one is the E-Type. But to me it's just too obvious, and it's from a slightly previous period. So what else is there? Mark II Jag for me is just too old, it's before my time. But the XJ Coupe in V12 form and manual, now that's something that pricks my interest. I'm 6 years into owning this car and I'm very pleased with it. I would much rather own this car than an E-Type, and you also have to think it's that much rarer. And it is refined. There is no sounds from suspension at all on the way up here. I think there's extra sound deadening's gone in. That's really helped. Crisp engine, just a smooth engine. And against the Espada, this is sort of easier to live with. The Espada's slightly flaky in places. This is sort of comfier. It's a mix of comfort and performance. The performance we haven't tapped into. The Espada has that high revving engine and just a racier feel, but this is a mile muncher par excellence, is my view from doing this trip. So I'm going to munch some more miles. We're going to enjoy a bit more of North Wales, make the most of the sun in first week of February, and then get it back to the garage and hopefully have 500-600 miles on it. So there you go. There's the introduction to the restored Jaguar XJ Coupe V12 manual. I hope you enjoyed this little different sort of Harry's Garage we have. Well, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos coming along very soon.